Good morning. Welcome to the September 18th meeting of the Board of Selectmen here at Hatfield Memorial Town Hall. We have a pretty good agenda going on today, so I guess we'll just get right into it. First of all, are there any public announcements from anybody?
I'd just like to bring up that the fire department got their fire truck last Thursday. They had a training on Sunday. I guess they came down from the where they bought it from, and they trained the guys how to use the pumper and stuff like that. I talked to Bill Belden, gave me an update on that. So the fire truck is here, it's up and running and ready to go. So I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Okay, anything else? Community forum. Anybody here for community forum? Okay, if not, we'll get right into approving the minutes.
Motion to approve 28 August minutes, Board of Selectmen.
Motion made, second.
Which
28th.
the 28th? Nope. Hold on just a second, I might have. No, I'm good. I'll second that motion.
I do have one suggestion. On page 2, first paragraph, there's a sentence here. It may be in the middle of the first paragraph, may be worth looking at running down Gore Avenue. It doesn't fit.
On page 3?
On page 2. It
Page
doesn't
2.
fit the context of the discussion at all. I don't
Third
know.
paragraph?
First paragraph.
First paragraph.
I just suggest we delete it. Talking about Linseed Road and suddenly,
The cost of sewer running down Lindsay Road is, this should be Rocks Road.
that's a sewer,
Oh, the
not
cost
water.
of sewer running down.
Small
Yeah, we
item,
weren't
but
talking about any of the sewer coming down, let's see.
I think that should have been read from Lindsay Road.
There should be cost of
Sewer
water running
from
down.
Lindsay
Cost of
Road,
sewer
not down
running
Lindsay
from
Road.
Linseed
That's-
I think that's where, Jan, you asked about putting the sewer line in the same time the water line. I think that's maybe where,
No, I think we were discussing it. Right now, the sewer line goes to Lindsay Road. We're talking about connecting,
coming back
coming back
north.
from north to Lindsay Road, not down Lindsay Road.
yeah, well, that's what I,
Right.
because when we put the water line in down Rocks Road to Chestnut,
Right,
I believe that's where you mentioned
Right.
put the sewer in at the
Right.
same time.
right.
So we could eliminate maybe some cost. I think that's where that paragraph comes in.
Well,
Um,
I don't mean to delay things. No one will ever understand what it says, but I recommend I move we delete that down to and replace it with the word from,
Right.
and then delete the next sentence and then continue on with Mr. Old's shared.
I'll second that
Right.
amendment.
Okay, motion's been made, seconded with the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve Board of Selectmen minutes of 4 September.
Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye. I do have one question, just, we set the departmental goals for all our direct reports. Question, have they been communicated?
Yes.
Okay, great.
All right, next on the agenda is the town hall renovation. Way ahead. Paul, you go over that, or Phil?
Yeah. Yeah, in going over the old project and reviewing some selectmen's meeting minutes from about a year ago or so, the building committee that you had put in place for the previous project, the $5.1 million project, is actually still technically on the books. But we're looking at a much scaled down project from that, and I'm not sure, you know, you really need a building committee for this project. Your designer selection procedures allow the Board of Selectmen to either create a building committee to oversee the project or to turn it over to a department head. My recommendation to the board is to dissolve that building committee and give the responsibility of that project over the DPW director. And if he wants to appoint a committee to assist him on that, you know, that'll be his prerogative. I'm really anxious to get this project moving.
I would move to dissolve the current Town Hall Building Committee under the Board of Selectmen and further to delegate that responsibility to the Department of Public Works.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second, you were going to check as of our last meeting about our potential use of Keoleo and Bieniek.
I did.
Without going through the whole another set of design, the whole bid selection process.
I spoke with someone in the Attorney General's office about this, and, you know, explained the whole thing. I didn't get a definitive answer from him. You know, he would probably need to know more details. But basically, what he said to me, he says, I think the safe thing for you to do is go through another designer selection process.
That just...
So much time has elapsed,
Well,
and this is a completely different project, essentially, than what we were looking at before. Now, I mean, that doesn't mean that we still might not end up using the same architect, but he thinks we need to go through that process, and that can be done quickly.
okay, let me ask it a little different way. Let's set aside that from your procurement training, can we sole source this?
No.
Given that that outfit has all the data already on file, they have a tentative layout of a first floor. I mean, they've done all the work, which would simply we'd modify with instead of a room, we put in a bathroom. Instead of X number of rooms, we changed the size of the rooms.
I've looked at the old plans, you know, and what we're talking about now is completely different from what they did. Completely different. Even just looking at the first floor layout, it's nothing like, you know, what we've been discussing.
Move a few walls.
Yeah, but
I suggest we solicit bids on what we want to have done in the specific areas,
yeah.
and then come in and find out how much they'll draw it for and just do that one little project. Because if you go into a whole blown out thing, you're looking at another 30,000, and that's not okay, because we're way over 100,000 now just on drawings and you know,
Well,
four
that's
drawings
exactly
of the
my
whole
concern.
building.
We spent $30,000 on a plan for the entire building, and here we go on a redesign with a new outfit, a cold start.
Oh, but as I said, you know, I think it's the process that we need to go through. I mean, we may end up using Kalo and Bieniek, but, you know, from my perspective, from the AG's office, you know, there's a process you need to go through. And this is not the same project.
Okay.
I just hate.
And
it seems like
it's a time factor.
How many more times are we going to spend money on designing something that hasn't been done in 25 years now?
I know.
I mean, we started this way before my time with a
Oh, I
design,
know.
you know,
I know.
And people are just saying.
It's long overdue.
I guess my question is, do we have to? Can we do this in-house? And again, I'm going to bring it up again. What if we hired our own builder or retiree to come in to design and build? Can we do that? I guess that's my question.
We know what we want, we just got to have them build it.
We know what we want, though we're not sure where, you know, everything is going to go. You know, we thought we had, you know, a place for the elevator, and then, you know, there's been talk about, well, maybe we should put it on the outside. Not sure where the bathrooms are going to go. I mean, if you want, it would be one thing if we're just talking about, you know, building out this space. This is fairly simple. But with the ADA bathrooms and the elevator, if we're going to move ahead with that, we have to have a designer.
On the elevators, Paul, there's only two places that it can really go right now in this building. One is in the corner of Marie's office where the stairway is, but then you take the stairway out and it eliminates a second egress from the second floor.
Yeah.
That's why we chose the one right in the corner there, because it fit all the way on all 3 floors. So if we can have it designed in that area, that's basically where you want to put it. I mean, it fits downstairs where it goes into the police department's door, that area right there. It fits over here in the hallway, right next to the janitor's closet, and it fits upstairs right in the corner, right in the hallway upstairs, right where the clock is upstairs. The 3 floors right there.
Well, we need a way ahead.
Why don't we-
We need
why don't we
to,
do it this
somebody
way?
needs to draw up some plans.
Okay, first of all, put out a,
I move that the town administrator issue a
Request for qualifications.
request for qualifications under the design selection procedures for purposes of renovation of the town hall.
With the 2 existing projects or the 3 projects?
Well, just for the renovation. And let me come back to, second it, we'll talk about it.
Okay, I'll second it.
What I'm really talking about is, we need to, one time, do everything we're talking about. The elevator, ramp, entrances, rooms, bathrooms. And then out of that, though, we ought to be looking at phasing it, because we're not going to have enough money to do it all at once.
I think you're right.
So package it, and we could do this amount. We could put in the offices. Next time we could add, we could go back to town meeting and ask for the additional funds for whatever else we need.
You know,
But get one integrated plan if, in fact, all we're ever going to get is a build-out of a first floor.
Well,
I mean,
Let's
we
get a
have.
plan.
I think
we have
Jan's
to-
idea
let's
of
get a-
just hiring somebody, excuse me, Jan. I think Jan's idea of hiring somebody just to come in and get this floor laid out and the office is done are the right way to go. We don't need an architect to draw up the specific rooms right where they're gonna go. I mean, we can lay those out exactly where they go in here, and then have a contractor or the carpenter just build them. Put up the sheetrock, insulate the walls. I mean, we're looking at 4 areas. That's all we're looking at in here. We know the weight is gonna, there's no weight on the wall space basically, and the floor load's gonna carry it. They already did the design on that. And then definitely the elevator needs to be drawn up, because you gotta cut the floor joists and stuff like that, and it's gotta be carrier walls underneath those and things, so. I mean, I'd be willing to just go with the one time out here, and then everything else on the other side, you go and design it.
Well, could we buy just the design, stop there,
could do that.
and then proceed like you and Jan are talking about, piecemeal, perhaps hiring our own guy to build out parts of it?
Yeah, yeah, step one is we need a plan.
Yeah,
We need a plan. How we implement that plan
that's a separate,
is a separate issue.
action.
And I think, you know, and I
I
agree.
don't have a problem with that, but let's make
Yeah.
sure that this plan is the final plan and that we can depend on this plan for probably the next 10 to 15 years, because
Yeah, but don't forget,
you know,
it really
I mean,
wasn't our fault.
I
mean, the
realize
townspeople
that.
voted it
No,
down.
I realize that,
So
but,
that's
but
when we
every
have to go back
time
to the drawing board.
we're always spending money on plans
Yeah,
that
I
we're
know.
not using, and people are saying, well,
I agree.
you probably got a drawer full of plans, which isn't too far off, you know. I just want to get a plan that we can work
Execute.
off of for the next, if we can't afford it in 10 years, at least we can go back to that plan and say, okay, this is the next room we're going to build.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
we've got some money appropriated now,
Okay.
but, you know, quite frankly, we have no idea what our conceptual plan is going to cost. And without having a feasibility study done, we don't know where we're going.
I'm not in favor of a feasibility study. We've studied this thing over and over and
That's
over
a
again
term
over the
he's
years,
using. That's just a term.
and we
he's
just
using.
spent money for nothing. Take the money and just build the walls and get as much as we can done. Off it like
Well,
Jan says.
it is simple enough that we could probably, you know, have the final designs done. If, in fact, you know, the architect has a good idea of what we're looking for.
What if the architect, what was that again?
I said we could probably get away with not doing a feasibility study per se, and just go right to final design, as long as the architect has, you know, a reasonably good idea of what the program requirements are.
Yeah.
And this is simple enough.
All right.
Motion's on the table.
Come in here with a chalk line and snap lines Saturday.
I mean, okay, there's, motion's been made, seconded.
I'm good.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Press on, I'm in.
All right, next up is the town hall garage status. I can understand we got some prints back.
We do. So I guess it's up to the board to pick the option. There's option A and option B here.
No, the board doesn't pick the option A. The option A and option B are two different prices. Option A is the one that, looking at the whole project. Option B, if it comes in too high, they're gonna go to the option B. So that's why whoever's gonna bid on it will take, the bid price will show the whole, what was talked about on the whole thing. And then if it comes in too high, they're also gonna bid, that's with the bathroom on the outside and the cross walkway. If the bids come in too high, their second bid will show the bathroom inside and then eliminate the walkway. Okay, that's what the two bids are for. So when you put this thing out for bid, it's option A. Whoever's gonna be bidding on this, they're gonna bid on option A and option B. And then the electrical plan, and this is the plan for overhead for the mechanical room. And then the electrical plan will be bid option A and then option B. Two separate prices here you're getting from the bidders. That's the way it works. So you can eliminate, because if we have to eliminate this here, then it goes into this option B area, because it might be too much to put that on. So, but the first price will be the first price for the whole project, and then the second price, option B, will give it with the reduced, cutting this off and cutting the bathroom off, and putting the second bathroom inside.
Can I just ask the procurement officer if that's the way to go? Or do we just do option B with the alternates as that
Why would you do
on
that?
A?
Why would you do that?
I mean,
when-
because once you identify options or identify alternates, that's the route you have to go if there's more money available, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, that's right.
If it comes under budget to do this whole project just the way it sits, why wouldn't you do it?
What was that again?
In option A is the whole project.
Right.
Just the way it was talked about, just the way the police wanted it, just the way the fire everybody wanted it. Okay? So if the price comes in within budget, why wouldn't you do that? You wouldn't worry about option B. But if it comes over, the price comes over that, then you would look at option B on how much
Cut out.
deducting cut out of that, and then go with the option B, which would move the bathroom inside and cut that walkway and the other bathroom on the outside out.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
No, I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, that's the way this is set up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay?
Okay, my question is, what if option B, which has still some significant changes, if it runs over, now what are we gonna do?
You mean option A and option B?
No, option B is without your outside.
Without the outside garage, and this is, option B is you cut this walkway off. So all of this is gone, the bathroom's moved inside.
Right, but I'm saying now, what if it still goes over with this, because this plan here on the option B, you basically are gonna gut this whole,
Well, this has to be
Interior.
done, we have to put 2 bathrooms in, because Stanley said we had to. So that's why it was laid out inside the building. One was outside, okay, thinking that it might be cheaper because of all the plumbing and stuff are right outside here. We don't have to chop, you know, we still got to chop the floor and move a few things in here, but let's wait and see. Get it out for bid and
well,
see what
I
we
know,
got.
but
If it goes
my-
over on both of them, then we
my
have to make
thought
a
is,
decision on what we're going to do.
now do we take and put this out as one bid, the police area, and then this out as another bid also? Because my only thought is, if we're gonna do office space in here, or your elevators in here, you're gonna have to move the police department out. So now,
There's a
are we gonna,
sequencing. You're right.
are we gonna be sitting here with no projects done, all money sitting in?
Then I see what you're saying. Then what if we go
I
with
mean,
what if we
the
go with
number
an
one-
option C, like what you're talking about, and just outline what's needed for the police?
Or C and D, or C, yeah.
Because
Do
that
your
would give
B.
us a chance to get this part done.
That's what
This
I'm
has
saying.
nothing to do with this part,
Right.
okay?
I mean, that's
I
pretty
see what
much
you're
the whole
saying,
new
yeah.
building anyways.
Yeah. So that could be an option C. And that, you could put that in the bidding, that option C would be the police area, and then you could highlight on the drawing, option C, and just a price, just a simple price on that. Okay, in case of, yeah. I
No,
see
because
what you're
I'm just saying,
yeah.
because they
At
have
least we can
to,
get something done.
they will get something
Yeah.
done, and we'll have an
Very
actual,
clear.
a little place for somebody to move into, or we've got room for the
That makes
elevator if
sense.
and when we do
no,
it. So.
But again, just to be clear about the options A, B, C, when we went through the window bid, when we put alternate 1, 2, 3 for what windows, because we knew we didn't have enough money, we couldn't skip from alternate 1 to 2 to do 2, because the way you list it is what you have to do.
But you wouldn't want to change it. If you got enough money to do option 1, you do option 1. If you don't have enough money to do option 2.
I understand that, but what I'm
but I think
saying
it's
is
in
that
this-
you don't want to say, okay, now we're 5,000 short in B, so we're going to go do 3.
Yeah,
And
that's the intention here.
I just want to make sure that the language is right, so if we get in a jam, we'll have the option to go to C.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
Okay.
We'll have to look
So
at that.
we're clear on what Jan's saying, because I agree with that.
Yeah, well, I
We need to
agree
get something
as
done
well.
here, so. Option 3, so there'd be 3 options, and the third option would be to just cut out the police department area and get that done.
Yeah.
Okay, now, don't we have to use the same process for that? As for
Absolutely.
the town hall. That's not the final design, that's a preliminary design.
This here, right, it's a preliminary design, but it's good enough to get your cost on it and stuff like that. And do you need a final design? I don't believe you need a final design. You can build off of the working drawing.
Well, if a contractor can
He can see exactly what's here, dimensions and
construct
stuff
something
like that.
from those drawings, that's
I
great.
gotta make
I
sure
don't know
Mark put the
whether, I don't
dimensions
know
on
whether
here.
he could or not.
Well, the thing is, it's, I mean, the way I look at it, I could see if we had to have a stamped print from a certified architect. However, we're not putting any bearing walls or anything in here. Basically, all we're doing is
It's just
petitions.
putting petitions, that's it. And it's just standard petition. The only thing I didn't see is the dimensions, but that's,
I
we
think
can
that's a
get,
building inspector question. Does he need stamped architectural drawings?
no, he doesn't. That came in, we already cleared that through Stanley. He doesn't need stamped drawings. And he doesn't need to be on site either. No, not for this project here. Because the structure is all built, you're just adding walls.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
I mean, for
Okay,
the,
so
for
the
the
way-
original building, when we built that, that was stamped by an architect.
Correct.
Okay.
for the building.
Yeah.
But that, again, had rafters, wall, you know, bearing walls, where
Right.
this
There's
really
no
doesn't have,
structural here.
there's no structure changes, it's just basically partitions, you know, so. I mean, we're not putting in a second floor.
Right.
That's out, so.
Right.
All right, so do we have a
Okay.
motion on the table here?
Not as of yet.
The motion to proceed and have the
A, B,
DPW
and C.
director put these out for bid
With 3 options,
The 3
with the
options.
3 options.
as indicated?
First option is option B as indicated on the plan. Option B is indicated on the plan, and then the third option will be the police area, which will be highlighted separately on each plan, and that would be considered an option C.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, motion made, however, I'd like to add that Paul and Phil work together just to make sure
Yeah.
that
He's got everything there.
or we're all on the same page, okay? So, okay, that motion's been made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Hey, you're way ahead on 2 items.
How about that?
We got the draft audit and management letter. Just for townsfolk, each year we have an external audit. With regard to the financial statements, the overall opinion was the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the government activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the town of Hatfield as of 30 June. So, okay there. In the management letter, there are several deficiencies, some of them not unknown to us. Untimely reconciliation rather of significant department records and accounts to the general ledger, not maintaining a current accurate list of capital equipment. We did a listing a few years ago. Folks haven't added to it or taken things off as they acquired them. Not maintaining records of our methodology for determining indirect costs charged to our water sewer enterprise funds, although we do have a policy as exactly what, I'm surprised at that one, we do have a written policy as to exactly what the content of the indirect charges are to be. So anyway, we ought to be able to answer that pretty
Jeff, could I
quickly.
interject for a second?
Sure.
On some of these, like there was one in here of a plan that we don't have plans in place or
I'll
bidding.
get to that.
They're all supposed to go to the town accountant, and everybody, I was on the
Yeah,
assumption everybody knew that it goes to the town accountant, but yet they're not getting there.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Anyway, I think we do have an answer to that one already. Not submitting timely our balance sheets, Schedule A, so free cash can be certified, that's on the town accountant. Not filing in the accountant's office contracts, bids, and proposals used to determine compliance with Uniform Procurement Act, Chapter 30B, as well as all contracts and grant awards. That's just what Ed was talking about, and I thought we had that, folks were well aware of that all along. Apparently not. And not having an
I'll send out a
internal,
memo to all
Good.
department heads
Remind
to
and
remind
not
them.
having an internal management control plan and an accounting manual. But they're all workable items, it's just a matter of some effort. But I would propose, this is sent to us for any comment we might have. The only comment I would suggest we make back concerns this business of not maintaining records of our methodology for determining indirect costs charged to the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund, because we have an established written methodology. But other than that, I propose we accept the management letter.
Yeah, I'd like to also comment on number 8, the risk assessment and monitoring. Okay, I think
That's
we
the internal
need-
management control plan.
Yeah, I think we need, like, the finance committee to come in, or a group of people, 3 to 5, whatever, and work on some of these things and find out exactly where things can go wrong, what needs to be fixed, and then we need to see if we can fix them.
That's what the plan's
Yeah.
supposed to be about.
I mean, on our end, I think we should have a committee to do something like that.
Right now, all we're talking about is responding to the draft letter. And
Yeah.
I'm suggesting our only comment deal with
That we're accepting the draft.
deal with that one item.
I'll move that we accept the draft letter.
He already moved.
Oh, you already moved it? I'll
made the
second it.
motion.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I passed out to you a while back, we applied for and were subsequently we indicated our interest in participation in the regional conservation agent program. And subsequently, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission did get a grant. We're participating through that grant and through Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. There's a compact to be entered into by each of the participating communities. And as part of the compact, it asked two things. One, that we designate who our primary and alternate representative to the Conservation Compact is, number one. And number two, what are some of the priorities that we have for work of the regional conservation agent with respect to Hatfield? And what I just put out here is what I understand to be one, conservation agents, the conservation committee's druthers, that is technical assistance with respect to wetlands permitting, and then this other list of a dozen or so items from open space, things that they'd like to see the conservation agent be working against. Now, I think that's a lot for this fiscal year.
Yeah.
The agent's not going to be addressing just Hatfield items, but apparently they've had some discussion with Pioneer Valley reps, and I understand PVPC has onboard expertise with wetlands permitting kinds of things, apart from the regional conservation agent, so they can get, our conservation folks can get help there. And, you know, our rep to the board can work through the compact what the priorities are among their other open space items here.
Mm-hmm. What I'd like to do is I'd like to make a motion that we enter into the minutes the list of priorities that Jeff came up with, and along with the conservation open space, and make that as a certified list that we move forward on, and take one step at a time and go by priorities on the list.
Okay, but we would provide this to
Open space and
Conservation.
Space and Conservation, our representatives there to the compact, as what the Board of Selectmen have adopted.
Okay, we'd like to appoint representatives.
Yeah, the second part is to appoint representatives to the compact.
Well, do you want to do the motion first?
Oh.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Paul
you.
will clean up the motion, or Kayla. The other item has to do with, the compact calls for a primary and an alternate representative from the community to the regional compact. Now, Open Space has volunteered to serve as primary, and there's a note I saw from Ron Sassy acknowledging that Open Space is willing to do it, and it looked like he was more than happy to have Open Space serve as primary, although the compact is with and through our Conservation Committee. So technically it should be under Conservation, but I mean, between you and I don't think anybody cares. Open Space and Conservation are willing to work together. So if Ron and the Conservation Committee really want Open Space to take the lead, they're quite willing to do that. And as such, I move that we make Peter Cox, Open Space Chair, as our primary representative to the compact, and Ron Sassy on the Conservation Committee as our alternate rep.
Are they willing to do that, both?
Is there a second? No,
Okay,
we'll
I'll
talk.
second that.
Now, you attended the meeting. I didn't attend your meeting, did you?
No, I couldn't make that meeting,
Oh,
but we do
You
have
okay with
another
that?
meeting coming up. Yeah, I'm okay, yeah, I'm sure they are, so.
okay.
Yeah, it's just basically a matter of us appointing somebody,
Yeah.
so. All right, so a motion's been made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, would you send something to
I
think
was
it's
talked to
and-
Wilma,
to
open space.
open space and to conservation, telling, what we've done here, and send a notice to PVPC, I think it's Ann Capper,
Oh, yeah.
and/or, what's his name? I can't think of the other guy's name.
There is one question I have on this. The following year, I know we discussed it at our meeting about the possibility of us, if they are going to ask for $1,800 in the following year, that we put it into conservation budget.
Yeah.
So we may want to make note of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see a big jump in
Yeah.
the budget, that's what it's going to be for. If we so choose to stay
Yeah.
with it.
We'll see what comes out of this year. What's next?
All right. Board of Selectmen, desired capital projects.
I stuck this on here. We're racing toward capital project development time, and budget time. Capital projects are due, Capital Improvement Planning Committee, 1 December. Proposals for, or to, the Conservation, the Community Preservation Committee are also due 1 December. So if there's anything that, from what the respective departments are going to be doing and recommending on their own, anything that we as a board would really want to see in either someone's capital plan or some other thing that we've just thought up ourselves, and/or we want a particular project to go to CPC, we need to be flagging that now so people can go develop necessary background materials and make the submission. I have one on the capital improvement planning is get in finally whatever it remains to be done with respect to Colonial Acres I&I.
Mhm.
That's been dragging on for years. It's just time to close on what it is we need to do.
I agree.
I mean,
However,
when it was shot down at town meeting, that, there's not much you can do, otherwise go back and regroup, because that's the first thing that we need to do is correct our problem. That's the first thing we need to do. And when townspeople don't give you the money to do it, then it's in limbo.
Well, the
It
problem
truly
here-
is in limbo.
well, it was brought up, I remember that we didn't do our homework. We did do our homework, but we didn't have our homework with us that night, which we should have, where we could show what the cost of electricity is that we're using to pump clean water up to the sewer plant, what we're spending on treating clean water at the sewer plant, what the fines would cost us, or what they're going to start cost us. If we have that kind of information, I think people
critical
maybe,
piece-
but I mean, I do know the last time when I was on the board with Frank, we did have a lot of that sorted out with what it's actually costing in electricity. That's, that's a biggie.
Maybe we hold some public hearings.
And I agree that we should have people come in and we talked about it right after, but it kind of got
Because
shoved
we
to the
have to go back
wayside.
to the drawing board and come back with this project again, because it needs to get done.
Well, that's my point. It needs to get done. It's dribbled along like some other things we touched and let go. And I'm just trying to put some focus on it, get it back on the table and move it forward to some kind of resolution. You talk about the cost, that's one element. The other thing is it endangers our certification,
Right.
our license to discharge. So,
Well, the bottom line is the state could come in and close them down, close us down, or close them down for distributing water, clean water into the sewage system.
so I'm
That's against the
we're
law.
not today trying to define how we're going to solve it, but rather I'm just suggesting we put it on DPW as this is
Sure.
definitely one to be in his package for this next fiscal year.
And
But
I-
not to stop anything you got ongoing right now either.
No, and I agree that we should sit down with the neighborhood or the community
That's part of
But I
it.
move that we have...
before
Did you
town meeting.
move, or I move that we have DPW
this
establish some guidelines moving forward on this, and to bring it to a couple of hearings and move
Included in
forward on
the
it.
1 December package of submission of capital projects for fiscal year 14.
Okay,
Okay. Motion.
motion been made?
Motion's made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, what about, are there any other capital? You know, one other thing that could be capital and CPC has to do with the town hall, but we don't know where we are right now.
We
That's
don't,
the problem. You know, the timeline here is not in our favor to get something defined in terms of a project like what else might we go to CPC for renovation?
Did
Well,
they
I-
certify our entrances out here at last meeting, or did that,
Yes.
we pull that out?
No, we have the ramp.
We have
money.
that for the entrances, okay,
Yeah.
we should move on that too.
Well, they gave us money 2 different times, one for ramp and for,
One for
to
the
continue
entryway.
the elevator and bathrooms, so.
No, we also got it for the
And then we
entryway.
put in for the entrance to have it repainted and
That was
stuff like
denied.
that, and repaired.
That was denied through CPC.
Was that denied?
Mhm.
Okay,
In the town, we have town free cash money to do it.
okay,
But
so
if,
I didn't recall, I couldn't remember what was the status of that.
I guess my comment is, if we find ourselves in another month far enough along that we could define some particular project to go to CPC, I would
I
highly
certainly,
recommend
I
that
certainly
we
think
do
that's probable. I think we'll, you know, we'll have a pretty good idea where we're going and what the costs are, you know, in a matter of, a few months.
Well, it's already almost October, that's the problem.
Well,
I don't know, did anyone have any of the others, any other projects for CPC?
well, I'll tell you what, I've been thinking about. I also thought about what was it? End of April, beginning of May, when we were sitting right over there with the finance committee and saying, we ain't got much to spend this year, so
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, I'm kind of leery about coming up with any kind of projects at this time,
This is
other than
CPC.
other than through CPC.
How about the library? Is there anything to be done on the Memorial Library? We should send maybe a note out to Eliza or the committee
Well, they've got
and ask them if they
pending,
have anything out there too, because
but they
just
have
let 'em know
pending
that they
the
can-
whole issue of renovation of the library. Remember, they're on the list.
yeah, but I'm talking about outside, are the
Oh.
steps in good shape? Stuff that needs to be addressed maybe on the building now.
They're being contacted directly by, I mean, they know that they
Okay,
have them.
they know this is coming?
They know
okay,
that that's coming.
Okay.
I'm just looking for if we have anything in particular.
From our buildings, I can't see anything else that we
The only
would
thing, like I
have.
said, if we can wait or get some kind of pricing on
Yeah,
what added costs are gonna be involved here, I would say that would be the number one priority,
Yeah,
and that's about,
yeah.
okay.
as far as the, the board goes.
Okay. I just wanted to get it on the table.
How about the cemetery, maybe
Oh.
open space, the land,
Thank you.
fences or something?
Thank you. But that should be coming from Joe to CPC. But I don't know if you watched his Hatfield Currents little show, and here the poor guy's got these sheets of paper of our cemetery. I mean, all that could be digitized, laid out,
That's my point. Can
digitized
we,
with all the, where people are.
because
and
it's historical,
which things are empty or available for use. All that could be put in a database. And that would be something I
maybe
would
just
think
send a
he
note
might-
off to the cemetery. I know, Larry, you're here, but send a note off to the,
to
commissioners
define
to
some kind of project, to
define
get
the
some money to
project
do just
to
what
help
you
that falls
desperately
within the
need
scope there.
from CPC. Those are historic cemeteries like this, on the hill. Well, most of them are.
Come up here, because
Sorry.
Larry Larry Williams. We have talked about that several times, and we did look into the going in and getting that digitized. The project's not a simple one, and it's not a cheap one. The minimum cost I could find was, you're looking at, from a company called, it doesn't matter, about 10 grand to do that. We've tried to start doing it. That's why we were talking about last meeting about the gridding,
Yeah.
the cemeteries. We have started doing some of that on our own. So, and Main Street Maps is going to build us some maps that grid it out for us. But as far as inputting the data, that's just somebody's going to have to do it, and nobody wanted to. I approached the Historical Society even, and that's a big expense. That just 10 grand was a lot of money to spend, and that was just to have the database.
CPC, if they have 10 grand is not, I mean, it's there. It's there from CPC if it falls within the general scope of the,
But,
I mean,
but did it?
it's your call. I'm just suggesting that would be a valuable tool,
yeah.
management tool here on. There's potential there for money, and maybe you don't do it all at once, but maybe you package it as one, but
Per cemetery or something.
But you could do it, yeah, by cemetery.
Well, they would actually do the whole project for us, and do it in. You can do an interactive, have a kiosk. I mean, it goes from $8,000 to $100,000. The different projects you can get. But I never did the CPC because, I mean, it's a preservation. It's not preserving the.
Historical.
But there's a lot with it. There's land, there's a lot. Historical,
give
a
it a
lot
shot.
of things come into play, even residential
The painted
projects
Congregational
of
Church.
residences around the town. That's how they did the church, up here, the pillars in the church. That fell underneath the private sector, so it's all part of the program. So maybe, get your committee to look at the program and what's eligible and what's not, and then apply for funding and let them tell you yes or no.
Okay, I'll talk to Joe.
It's your call, man.
No, absolutely. That's a
Just a
great idea.
suggestion.
We've been trying to do it on our own, little by little by little, and it's
Take forever.
never.
But if the funds are there, don't let it come from taxation, let it come from the CPC.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. DPW. Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome back. I just have a few things. I'll give you a few updates. The conduit is in over at the the old fire station for the basketball court. I did notify Bobby Betzel about it, so they're good to go. We took out the 2 bushes and the old basketball hoop that they wanted out. So his concern is the time frame, whether they're going to proceed this fall or wait till the spring. But it's surely we're done, and that's ready to go. So that's one project out of the way. The other thing is today I'm meeting at 11 o'clock with Nick Christori from Comprehensive Environment about the final permitting for the hazard mitigation grant money for the dike repair. There's a couple of permits left that need to be finalized, and the town's signature has to be on that permit. So he's coming in at 11 o'clock to meet with me, and hopefully we'll sign off. And he's looking at the spring or the low flow construction season, so that would probably be next summer to complete that project. I know that at our last meeting, they were here giving you an update, and things have moved along since that time. So we're ready to go with the final permitting's in place, the 5 permits. The other thing is I have an abatement here that you need to take a look at for a pool liner replacement. And, I just want to compliment, Brian Williams from Valley Street, filling this out right, providing all the proper paperwork, so the system that we put in place is working. It's right here in front of us with everything we needed, so shouldn't be any
Are
problem.
you recommending approval?
I'm recommending approval, yes. And that's about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion to, Ed, you got it there, make it.
It's for $91 or something.
Okay. I move that we abate the water sewer abatement for Brian and Katie Williams, 15 Valley Street, in the amount of $91.56.
Second.
Okay, motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Anything else? That's it?
I'd just like to ask if we can get, last meeting we talked about the cost, about the roads that were being done, the blacktop that was being done, the aprons and stuff like that. When are they planning to do the aprons? Because my concern is that every time they go off the edge of the road, it's going to be cutting more and more into the road.
Just about all the aprons are taken care of down there.
Okay.
We did it.
And do we know how much money is left so we can look on Upper Straits Road to get that all taken care of?
As soon as
'Cause-
the rest of the bills come in, we're waiting for a couple from Wayne Construction, so as soon as we know.
Okay,
And what
but,
was left in the Chapter 90
I mean,
funding.
is there any way that you can get like you don't have to wait for the bills to come in, can you call them and get a price so you can get a tally? I mean, it's dangerous up on that end of the road. I mean, those potholes
We did scrape, Straits Road where it needed to be graded, and we did patch all the potholes, so that's taken care of.
Okay, so that's taken
Yeah,
care of?
yeah,
Okay.
so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Did the MassWorks certification letter go in?
Yes, that's another thing I could have brought up. Yes, the Mass Works grant's in, the certification was mailed, so, we're on back and looking for that grant. And also that we did complete all the paperwork for the SRF loan for the water project, so we're waiting to hear on that as well.
Okay, back to, Ed brought up, we were at a function, I don't even know when it was. When was it, last week? Friday night? Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night.
350th anniversary of the county. And Cocott was there, Representative Cocott, and he mentioned to Ed about getting together with respect to the MassWorks project. I know you were, someone had asked you to get with him. You haven't done that yet, or hasn't occurred yet?
I haven't met with him, no. I've left a couple of messages at his office that, set the date and we'll meet, so. But they did.
Well, we need one meeting with, if he wants to talk to us, that's one thing. If he just needs to talk to you, that's another.
Yeah,
But
or meet with him, and then if we can make it, we'll go to
A company?
just a company,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're all on the same
would
page.
we want to bring Mike Ohl for that session?
Michael will be willing to come, yes.
I would recommend Mike come with his,
Yeah, at least he's there
Maps and
and he's got the
diagrams
answers.
and-
Sure.
Well, there was a couple things that I did ask Colcott's office about, was the MassWorks grant, the ag group, as you all know, and also about the transportation bond, where we're going to fit in with that if we can. Are we going to be on the list, or aren't we going to be on that appropriation? So there was a couple questions that I did have for him.
Well, the way I understood it, it's up to the governor on the transportation bond, where what's going to be allocated for which towns and so on, so. I mean, all our projects that we put in the sidewalks, we put in the bridge
Yeah.
and the
bridge.
guardrails. We
And
put
the
all
bridge.
3 projects in, and they were approved.
They're on the list. It's
They're on
just
the
like you
list,
say,
but now
that
it's
the
just-
governor's.
Yeah, it just depends on the
choice.
governor.
okay, well, how are we leaving this? We're going to wait until he gets word back from
I'll call his office
Mr.
again
Cocott's
after our
office.
meeting and see.
Well,
Okay.
he made it a point to come and see me and tell me that.
Well, that's why I don't want it to
We
drift.
get a meeting set up, so the sooner the better.
Well, I guess the call should be,
Let
to
me
follow
touch-
up on the discussion with Ed on Friday. We're calling to
well,
set that
like
time and date.
Well, Jeff had stopped in the office prior to your function, and I had told him that,
Yeah.
that Colcott's office had contacted me
Yeah.
that they want to meet, so. And I did return the call to say, you
Yeah,
set the
because
date,
Peter,
we'll be there.
I mean, when Peter comes up and he says, I
Yeah.
want to meet, that's.
Let's take
yeah,
advantage.
Exactly.
All right. Paul, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I've got several items here. On the performance management implementation status, I delivered a copy of the performance evaluation forms and a cover letter to all department heads
Outstanding.
a week or two ago, other than the DPW director, since they have a different evaluation process. So that's been taken care of. Under operating budget guidance and instruction, not much to report there, other than the treasurer and I are planning on meeting with the chairman of the finance committee the beginning of October. That's kind of the earliest he will be able to meet with us to start discussing next year's budget. I know one of the things we want to talk about is modifying the budget request form. There's concern that it doesn't allow for enough detail for some of the departments. So I'll keep you posted as to where we are on that.
Well, I drafted out something. I threw it in front of you. The key thing is what's the general guidance we're going to give to our operating departments? That's the key. The form is, are we going to say again, level budget, plan for a level? I wrote it that way. Plan to come in with an executable level budget, and 2, give a part B to address this other concern you had about, are there things that are critical to your operation not covered down in your baseline that the board of selectmen need to consider as it weighs options, and give the justification what it is, what the amount of money is, what it gives us in terms of capability or reduced cost or whatever.
What if we do it a little bit different this year, Jeff and Jan? What if we ask them to what their needs are, and that way give them a chance, instead of asking them to level fund, asking them to put out a budget what they feel they would like, and then we can talk about it. And that way you get the true effect of, because some people, like for instance, the dog officer, we asked for a level funded budget, he put a level funded budget in. He said he can't live with a level funded budget, but since we asked, he did it.
Okay, that's
I
why.
guess what I'm asking is, let them just, instead of even wording it level funded, just say, come in with your proposed budget, and then something like that. You know, give them a chance just to come in with their budget.
Well, the thing here, I was not being defensive, but I was proposing this approach. One, are we really anticipating some influx of money that we don't know about? I don't know. I think we're going to get about what we always have. So somehow you need to bound it so that it might work. That's the part A, the level funding. But then to do exactly what you said, what else do you need that's critical? And then let us
But see,
work
the
the
first
margin.
word, the first sentence, sometimes they read the first sentence and they just, it's like, well, what's the sense of going through all this and just leave it there?
The process that you discuss is the process that I'm used to working with. On occasion, there would be years when we knew, we were going to hit the wall, that we would say, you have to level fund your budgets. But typically, what we would want from our department heads is, what do you need? And then it'd be up to the finance committee and the selectmen to determine whether or not we can afford it.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
Exactly right.
the Board of
I do
Selectmen,
know,
the Board of Selectmen will determine the budget. The Finance Committee will comment on our budget. Let's be clear whose budget it is.
I do know, like the
Gets
dog
lost.
officer, he's in dire need of money, okay? And also, for the amount of time that he's spending in, he'd like to up his salary, but that's something he'd have to put in his budget, and we'd have to discuss it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, I just, it's that time in terms of our schedule of getting the information out to folks, because we're,
Yeah, I'm agreeing with what you're saying, Jeff, but I'm just wondering if we can just kind of like be softer on that first sentence.
well, we should not delay very much longer. It should be out this month, whatever the guidance is.
Yeah.
And
I move we leave it up to the town administrator to get it out to all the departments and stuff.
well, I'd like to see what it is first.
Pardon?
Right. Yeah, that would.
This is our guidance, so I'd like to see what we finally put out. But
What
you're-
are your overall guiding principles here?
one, well, I was suggesting 1, level, and 2, don't put it the standard. Don't put in raises or cost of living, and or we'll determine that centrally, except for known contract obligations like direct reports, like within DPW, we have a contract. Not a heck of a lot more.
Okay. Alrighty.
All right, you can bring that back to our next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have I'll have a draft for you for the next
Okay.
meeting. How's that sound? Okay, finally, I have 4 signature pages here for the Comcast contract. We got a lot of back and forth on this, but we've had, we had a special cable counsel, Mr. William Solomon, who was fine with this. And I've also had it reviewed by town council, who thought it was a very good contract. So I need the board's signatures here on all these pages, and both attorneys will need to sign as well, and then I'll need to get it off to Comcast for the final signatures.
Subject to legal counsel's review, I move the Board of Selectmen, Town of Hatfield, approve the cable television renewal license with Comcast of Massachusetts 2 Incorporated, effective September 18th, 2012.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion has been made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Amen. Now, with that, next steps on cable manager are?
Yes, well,
Given now
as
you know
as
what
you
the-
will recall, I didn't want to hire a new station manager, permanent station manager, until I
Right.
knew what the final contract was going to look like. So now that we're at the tail end of this, I plan on advertising for the cable manager's position.
Okay. Amen.
All right.
I've got one more item. The water department put out bids for water main pipe for West Hatfield water main replacement. We got 3 bids back: Atlantic States, HD Supply Waterworks, and E.J. Prescott. HD Supply Waterworks was the low bidder. Tony from the water department thought that was a very good number at $19,236, so I'm recommending that the board award the water pipe replacement to HD Supply Waterworks.
Question, where's the funding coming from this?
Out of the Water Enterprise Fund?
Because I don't remember that being voted at town meeting.
I don't remember.
I'm just asking a question.
Was there an appropriation of any kind
There was
made
an
out of that?
appropriation for an emergency generator for, I believe, was Hatfield well, right?
That was the only
That's the
appropriation?
only thing I can think of.
As Michael had talked the last time we were here, that this was part of the overall $2.4 million project, which was,
This was going to be, this
this is the
piping
connection from the
The
well
well.
to Route
to
5.
Route 5, that was going to be installed by us.
Correct.
I-
Instead of coming out of the West Hatfield well into the old system, which is going to be abandoned anyways, that runs through the field.
That's right.
That pipe is going to be abandoned anyways. So this is the link between Route 5 and the well.
Right, and the
So-
last question that
So,
I,
all right, so if it's a sub-project of,
It's
The
part
overall-
of the overhaul project, yes.
So would the money come out of that appropriation?
It could, but that appropriation was never borrowed as we're involved with the SRF loan and everything else. Right now. I mean, the money's is not borrowed to date because we're anticipating construction of that project next year.
the last time Mike was in here, we talked about tying into that well.
Yeah.
And one of the options was to sever the pipe that came off of Lindsay Road through the swamp and then leave the well attached to that, wherever it ties into the pipe now, that comes out to Route 5. And that way it wouldn't cost us anything but the sever of that pipe. But I'm not clear on this. I guess that's what my problem is. Because I was always under the assumption that we're coming down Rocks Road, going up Chestnut Street, and
that's the main line.
Right.
that
This-
that
this
was
is-
what that
But this-
grant, that
this-
was what that money was for.
But this leg here is to, so, because if we sever, we're not gonna have any water coming off that well.
Right.
Because there is no,
The line between the West Hatfield well and Route 5, some line has to exist there during construction.
Okay, but I guess my question is then, if it
And
comes
we're
off
not-
of Linseed Road, goes through the swamp, comes up to the pump house, and then goes to Route 5, because it's a loop, I believe that's a loop system in there. It ties into both of them. So if you sever it off, coming off the mountain of Linseed Road, goes through the swamp, if you sever it off right by the pump house, it's still gonna get out to Route 5.
Yes,
There's
but
pipe
that-
under the ground that
And
exists
that
right
line
now
is
today,
going to
right?
be abandoned eventually. That old pipe that's through that part of the project will be abandoned and a new pipe's going in no matter what anyways, as a secondary water supply from the pump to Route 5.
right
So
now, there is
regardless, that pipe's going in, whether it's with us doing it or if it's under the general.
But I
project.
don't recall the money being appropriated for this, that's my problem.
Well, he's saying,
The money,
He's-
no
he's
money
saying
has been
this is part of-
appropriated for anything south of Chestnut Street, that I'm aware of.
he's defined this as part of the overall project.
Correct.
well, I guess what we can do is ask to be legal
Well-
about it.
Well, if there was,
Can we look at what was involved with it, the 2.4 million? Correct. And if it's in there,
if there was
it's
no
fine.
appropriation from town meeting for this, out of the enterprise fund, then the money's got to come out of the,
I don't believe there was an appropriation that would come out of the
No, I-
enterprise fund from this.
I don't think we can just take the money and say, oh, and put it into a project that, if it's bundled in that project, yes. But if it isn't, we could get in a little problem.
Yeah.
The project,
I mean, if it's in there with, if Mike O says, yeah, it was part of the project, it's involved with the project, we get documentation that it's involved with the project, then it's fine. It's not an issue.
regardless of funding.
Well, then we can take that 2
Correct.
point, I mean, this 19,000.
Out of the 2.1.
Out of the 2 point, if in fact that was involved.
It is involved, yes.
That's how he briefed it when he was here.
If it is involved, and if we
That's
got
what it is.
documentation that it's involved, it's not a problem.
All right,
Let's-
can you
we just
get something
double
from
check on it?
Mike to say
Yeah.
this is or is not
We can do that.
part of the project for our meeting on the 2nd?
'Cause, I mean,
Then
it
we
didn't
can-
have to be brought up at town meeting that we were
No,
doing this
that is-
project, but it was bundled into that project, and all I wanna know, for my own
Is it-
safety of the town before we get.
Is it part of the project?
You know, okay, I mean, I'm not denying it, I just would like to see documentation, and that way if we're asked, we've got it, here it is, we're good to go, so.
very good.
We're going to do it in all events. Okay, I move to table. Bring back next.
Second.
Yeah, motion made,
meeting.
second table, till next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm all set.
Energy report to DOER. Anything?
Yes, well, I found out that, in fact, I am the responsible party to file that report because I am the main point of contact with DOER. I'm going to have to get information from other departments. I've talked to Jim Barry, who said he will help me out with it, but it's my responsibility.
Well, we understand that.
Yeah.
The whole thing is Board of Selectmen's responsibility, but we have an energy committee. Are they supporting you in this? That's one of the things one of their assigned activities.
Sent out a copy of that email that I sent to the board, to the Energy Committee, and I have not heard from anyone.
You should probably call a meeting with the Energy Committee in your office and get this together and figure out how we're going to work this thing out with their help. Okay.
You might check. I think they may be meeting this week. But, the other thing is the energy plan update. I guess that's the same.
Because there's certain guidelines that we said that we would have done by, and you know,
they have a charter.
Reporting.
They have a charter, so that's what they do.
We certainly don't want to lose anything.
No,
I like your idea. You bring in the Energy Committee and have a session with them.
I don't think he's still on the Energy Committee. I think he quitted.
no, he's still on, I believe.
No.
Well, senior property tax work-off plan?
Okay.
But Paul, you'll take care of that with the Energy Committee, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I gave the board a copy of this a few weeks back. We can just talk about this.
We never did talk about it.
No, we didn't talk about it. But, you know, under this program, most of the criteria is set out by statute, but the board has some criteria that they have responsibility for. Just to go over the maximum amount.
Just for townspeople, at a town meeting a year before May, we voted to adopt Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5N, which permits the town to grant reductions on property tax for our seniors. And what Paul is talking about is implementation of that program, some of the criteria. I'm sorry.
Okay, so just as an example here, these were the program policies from where I worked before in Lanesboro. The maximum benefit any one household can receive is $750. That's set in statute.
Could be 1,000.
Pardon me?
It can be 1,000.
Well, not unless they change the law.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. And you know, the rate is calculated at minimum wage.
Right.
So those are things we have no control over. What you do have control over is the amount of money that you want to allocate towards this. So this is set up like an abatement. We have to work with assessors on this. I know in Lanesboro, I think we started off at $10,000, and as the program evolved, we kept, you know, bumping up the sum because there were more and more people who are interested in it. As you can see at the top there, it was amended many times, and that was, I know one year the minimum wage changed, so we had to amend it then, but most of those amendments were from, you know, gradually increasing the amount of money. And the other thing that you have jurisdiction over is whether or not you want to have any income restrictions. Lanesboro decided not to do that, but you could. You'll say that anybody's making more than, you know, $40,000, let's say, you know, would not be eligible. I have talked to the Council on Aging director about this. a few weeks back, and we haven't talked about it further. But in my discussions with her, it sounds to me like we already have a volunteer program in place. I need to talk to her more about that. You know, how many are there that may help determine, you know, what kind of money we want to throw at this. But that for when we started this in Lanesboro, that was the hardest part, actually getting a program up and running and getting people who, you know, wanted to be involved and take advantage of it. It sounds like here you've already got a volunteer program. It's just a matter of...
And it doesn't cost us anything.
It's just a matter of setting up the, you know, this program so that they can take advantage of it. So it's not anything that we can do this year because we don't have any money, but, you know, it's certainly something that we can have, you know, ready to be up and running for July 1.
Well, the notion would be departments would identify requirements, real requirements, that simply exceed their budget. Maybe some administrative kind of work where they could, on a short-term basis, bring someone in to get some part-time help at what would be minimum wage.
My suggestion is pull out the article that was at town meeting because it may give the cap
No,
on it.
we just adopted the law.
Yeah.
That's all we did?
That's all we did.
We didn't put a cap? Okay.
I'd have some other suggested in terms of program policies. One, the law also provides that we can approve representation for those physically unable to perform. So you have a parent that actually qualifies, but the son or daughter, for example, could come in and perform on behalf of the qualifying individual.
Okay.
That's one. You know, maybe instead of changing, you're talking about you came through and making amendments each year, we could just save the hourly rate, it's the state minimum wage.
Yeah.
And just whatever it is at the time of employment, you don't have to keep coming back. The law does say it could be 1,000, up to 1,000 real estate reduction, but we could start off at 750 and
I would like to, if we're going to go with that program, I'd like to do only what their what you call it, like half of their yearly tax or something like that, like no more than 1,000 or something like that.
we could set boundaries on it. I'd also like to see something in there about the hiring department to outline their responsibilities for providing supervision, recording their hours worked, making sure they stay within the limits, whether it's 1,000 or 750.
There has to be a
providing documentation to the assessors, but if you're going to have the program policies, you need to lay it on. They need to know up front
there needs to be tracking.
that they're responsible for all that.
And the other thing on here is that all positions must be approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Right. So it's back to when we talked about doing this originally. It'd be someone coming in just like at budget time they do for full-time positions. They could flag these as part-time employment under this program. And they'd have to justify. It's not just you're handing this out. It's real work to be done.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
What I'd like to see is to put a survey out there to see if we have interested parties in doing this, to see if the public is interested in it. I mean, we voted it. We voted the thing at town meeting a couple of years ago, but do we have the interested parties and willing to come and work? And what are their capabilities?
But I'd say do it the other way around. First, define what the requirements are. Then you're posting those requirements.
Okay.
Then people can respond to, these are needs that the board has approved to be filled through this program.
Yeah.
As opposed to, yeah, I'd like to do it. I mean, target the individual to specific requirements.
Yeah. I do believe that you know, that the cooperation of the Council on Aging is absolutely essential for this to work. You know, it's a combination of the Board of Selectmen, the Assessor's Office, and the Council on Aging all working together. But it's really in terms of, in Lanesboro anyways, you know, the Council on Aging Director, you know, was basically, you know, keeping track of everybody's hours and, you know, and filing that information with the assessors.
Well, it would seem to be the hiring department's responsibility to track when they worked as opposed to COA. I mean, if he works in DPW, somebody at DPW who's supervising the individual ought to be accountable.
Well, it could, yeah, I mean, it could work that way as well.
My one question is,
Sure.
what would we have them doing? I mean, as far as office help, shoveling out on roads?
Oh,
I mean,
no, it'd be,
because,
Administrative
you know,
kind of work, probably.
that would be more administrative work. I would
yeah,
assume,
it'd be,
right?
I know Marie, the tax collector, you know, is very interested in having, and she does get some help now, you know, at tax time.
She gets
Just
free help every year,
helping
stamps,
herself,
envelopes,
stuff
stuffing.
envelopes and all
And
that
it doesn't
kind of stuff.
cost one penny.
Yeah.
So why, and I think that's part of, you know, when you say, give it to the Council on Aging Director, if she's got a program working right now that doesn't cost the town anything, don't you think that's going to affect that program? If people are going to say, well, you know, upstairs, they're getting X amount of dollars, and you know, and now you take the program that works and then throws a wrench into it.
Well,
I just want to make sure that everybody's thinking on that same page,
yeah, well, I
okay?
would
Because that
think
can
those-
happen.
You know, initially those individuals would be the ones who would want to take advantage of this.
But some of them aren't taxpayers.
Well,
A
that's
lot
what-
of them aren't taxpayers.
Okay, well, that's one of the criteria, so.
Yeah.
But,
No.
yeah, that could
Well,
cause
this
some
is-
problems.
This is an abatement of their
Their
property
taxes,
tax. So if they
right.
don't own anything,
They
they're
don't
not,
own anything.
they're not
right.
getting
They're
anything.
not going to
Exactly.
get anything. So, okay, but well, that's an interesting wrinkle.
Well, I have made some suggestions about,
So you're going to continue working on this with?
Yeah.
I'll come back to
All right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the first
The
thing,
town adopted it some time ago, it's just time
yeah, it
to,
was a couple of years ago, I think.
time to go
Yeah.
do something.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I think the first thing we need to do is work on what the program policies
Yeah.
are.
And I just had a couple extra, that's it.
Okay.
All right, we'll come back to it. Response to
All right.
Burke property donation. Mr. Burke offered the town a parcel of land. There was a question about access to that parcel. I talked to Mark Gillette, who was here to discuss it. He's talked to both the railroad, who's non-committal about granting access, and the property owner, I guess it's to the north, who is unwilling at this time because they're trying to sell adjacent property. So they don't want to confuse that or mess that up,
So there is no access to that.
there is
property.
no access.
Well, there is by water.
Yes, yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's-
Well,
So,
that's, you know, I mean, that is access, no matter how you look at it. So,
I mean, the options are, one, we go back to Mr. Burke and say, thank you, but given that there's no access, we're unwilling to address this at this time, or the other option is to go back to him and say, yes, we'll take it, and then just do nothing until we could get access at some point in time. And CPC would, or Open Space wouldn't spend any money on a conservation restriction since there is no access. Be quite frank, all I want to do is answer the mail. The gentleman came in here months and months and months ago, made a proposal, and we owe an answer.
And I think I brought up the fact that there was no access.
Well, and you're right, there is no access.
So
So it's either, thank you very much, but given there's no access, we respectfully...
we're not interested at this time. If you
respectfully-
can secure access in the future, then yes, we'd be willing to take on take it on, letter to some effect like that. He might be able to secure access with his neighbors or whatever.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that in the form of motion.
Okay. Second.
Okay, motion's made, second, all in favor?
You're going to
Aye.
answer Mr. Burke's letter?
And you'll send him
Yeah.
a letter?
Okay, good. Gosh, progress today.
All right,
That way we can solve that one way or another.
Next.
here.
Coop,
Coop. Mr.
perfect
Belvin.
timing.
Just
We
in
had
time.
We are right on schedule, huh?
Massachusetts Emergency Management folks and our own emergency management folks in here some time ago. They gave a briefing on continuity of operations planning. And we just asked Bill to come in and kind of give us his suggestions with respect to a way ahead. There is one issue or one question that's come up is whether or not we even have an existing COOP plan. Certain parties here think there is one somewhere, that if so, then it's a matter of maybe updating it. Bill doesn't think one exists, so.
Yeah, see,
Over to you, Bill.
if I recall, I remember Bob Donaldson telling me that there was one established years ago. I talked with him about that.
They worked on it. I know it was worked on, but I don't think we ever came up with a full, complete plan.
Okay,
Okay, then maybe that's what it is.
Yes.
okay.
So the idea is to create a plan, so if, say like you can't use this building, you know, so they want you to plan for like 12 hours from now, where can the town clerk set up? Or where can the treasurer set up, or so forth? And they plan for 30 days out. So what we need to do is have all these people, department heads, come up with a plan on what they consider their vital task that they could perform at a location other than the town hall for 30 days. So in other words, they need to take whatever records they need to have with them and so forth, so, and be able to do that. And part of that plan is say like the town clerk or the town treasurer is not available, who can step in to fill that position while they are out? So that's the kind of thing that they need to be starting to identify. So that's what we're looking for.
One of the things that just came to mind also, our server in Mike's office has all our documentation on it. So what we need to know, probably from whatchamacallit that does our maintenance on it, is to how we can just disconnect it and take the server off premises if something like that happens, like something major is going to happen, we could get it right out of here just by unplugging it. I don't know if we can unplug it, we're going to lose data. So that's something that needs a plan from them also. That's something that you should check into, Paul.
Okay.
Well, I believe we do proper backup, but records, the whole
Right.
issue of records is
We should
another.
have- You should have another
Off-site
set.
storage of vital records is another
Correct.
piece to this.
Well, I do know every day there's supposed to be a recorded record taken off-site here. It goes home with one of the secretaries or whatever from here.
Okay, so are you going to host a session with each of the departments and outline what a COOP is and share with them some of the materials that were passed out to the board?
We can certainly do that and
Okay,
see if we can get this done, so.
get it
Yeah.
off the ground?
But I think the big thing is, we need the support of this board to let them know how important it is, that we need to have this information and, who they can identify that could fill in for them if they're not here, if they're not available for some reason or another. And that might mean you work with a neighboring community.
Absolutely.
So you
Mike-
have to have a memorandum of understanding too, so.
Did she give us a simplified form where they can fill out?
Yes,
Okay, I thought she did.
Yeah.
Okay, that way if everybody could get that ahead of time and get it filled out.
well, Bill needs to really, Bill or Cindy, have a session. Here's what we're talking about.
Just give them the guidelines
Give
of it?
them
Okay,
all the
yeah.
information and
Right.
they can pick it up from there. And then you go back and highlight what are the issues? What is it the Board of Selectmen need to be involved in? How can we help? Do we need to go work with another community on an MOU or something about a particular service? Or do we go to the COG for backup for the accountant
Right.
or what?
Right. Okay, so we will do that. So
Okay,
we just
great.
need, we need the support of this board that, that this needs to get done, so it's important, so.
Well, just let us know when you're going to have that session and I'll be there.
Okay, All right, so we'll set that up then,
Great.
and we'll get that going, so.
All right.
Okay. Can I make one other comment? I heard you talk about railroad, and somebody just told me that the other day, that, you know how the railroad's doing the
Yes, the upgrade.
The plan is to leave the old ties on the side of the railroad unless the communities make a squawk about it. That's what I was told. So I would suggest this board notify them that we would like to have those old ties picked up. Otherwise, it become a fire hazard over the
Yeah.
years, so.
Yeah.
I
Had
can't
that happen
imagine they,
before.
well, I can't, I guess.
I just heard that the other day.
Really?
so,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
All I know
I
is
was
that-
told that. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I think.
Well,
it'd
we'll
be
keep
worth
an
it.
eye on it. When they
That's
do
right.
do that, we'll just make sure that we get a letter out to them that I hope they're gonna clean up
Correct.
the mess.
Well, I would do it before, but we can always, you know. I
How
mean,
about following up
Supposedly,
with,
they're working up in Northfield right now.
Actually, they're actually down in Deerfield, I heard, and I heard they started south and coming north
Yeah.
too, so.
why don't you follow up with the source you had as to where that,
It's just a farmer that's along the
Oh.
railroad tracks that was telling me that, so.
oh,
And that's what he'd been told by someone, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any contact.
We'll make sure that it's not in our town.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
The timing was
All right.
perfect.
Any unanticipated new business?
Well, we got some things in here, Janet. We gotta go through medical billing summary report.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, how did we answer the July letter from Coastal as to what July charges Hatfield wanted to abate? Or what they wanted, what, they were asking us for guidance. Remember we were having the discussion with them, I guess you, Ed, and
Right.
Paul did, about the use of another party to pursue delinquent accounts beyond their effort.
Right. The only thing we should be abating right now, and Paul, this is, we should be abating everything that comes from the insurance companies. That's the only thing we should be abating right now. And tell me if I'm wrong, Paul, but that's what we talked about. Because there's nothing we can do with the insurance. Once the insurance money, they say they're only gonna charge this, that's all they're charging. That's all they're gonna pay. So that's my understanding, the adjustment is only from the insurance company and not the individual payees. The individual payees go to the collection agency or whatever. That's my understanding of it. Was that yours, Paul?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, the second part of that, but I don't know then whether that number is what's here or not, and I'll bet it's not.
Okay, I didn't check the numbers, but I looked at the package and I
The other
was-
piece is hardship criteria. Hardship criteria. That we would,
Right, that we were gonna
review
do
or-
exemptions on, that's something you were gonna check. Remember I mentioned, talk with the assessors and see if Jenny had anything in there. I know she's got a
yeah.
paper in there that says, in order to get an exemption, you have to follow under this criteria.
I thought Coastal was going to give you some that they thought other, or understood other
no,
communities were using.
We were, I recall that we
Okay.
were gonna use the assessor's abatement form.
Okay, well, meanwhile, when we get that, so I'd move to table action on this billing summary until, one, we sort out whether these are the correct amounts to be abated, and two, we establish our abatement policy.
I'll second that, but I'd like a little bit of discussion more.
Sure.
On this, I'd like to see if maybe Coastal would change that form a little bit, put in their adjustments and have two columns. One would be the adjustment on the on the insurance side, and then the other one, okay? You should see 0 on the other side, because nothing should be adjusted until it's gone through the procedures. But on the medical side, on the insurance side, we could abate that.
Okay.
So, I'm pretty sure they could do that. That way it would have an exact, the adjustment should maybe say, insurance adjustment. All right.
I guess my question here is, why do we have to have everybody's name? I'd rather not see anybody's name on these. I don't care what they have, but
I agree with
I
what
don't
you're
believe
saying,
the
Jim.
Board of Selectmen need to have everybody's names other than what is owed to us, and let them take care of it and get back to us.
Yeah.
Because number one, before I do any abating, I have to go down through this list, you do, to make sure nobody's on that list that we either know, family, whatever, right? And if it isn't there, and we shouldn't have to have that information.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think this is a report to you, Paul.
Right.
And then you made a copy and gave it to us.
Yeah.
When realistically, we only need to see the front, the top page. You need, you know, at least you can go through. I appreciated that because for the first time I saw the whole report and how it was done, and it's very complete. But we don't need the whole thing. We just need the top, the top copy. And if they put that column in there, insurance adjustments, or there's probably two columns should be there. One would be insurance adjustment and the other one would be public adjustment or something like that. So, and the public adjustment should be, if there's a figure in there, we should have documentation with it in order to abate it.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, the final,
That'll make it simple.
just while we're talking about the issue in general, the only motion we have on here is to table it for now until we sort this out. But have we entered into an agreement now with a third party
Yes.
to pursue collection beyond coastal building?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We voted on that, I think,
Yeah.
Couple
a couple of meetings
A
ago.
couple of meetings
What,
ago.
who do we have? And I guess what's the
I saw
process?
the name of the company. I
Is
forget.
is coastal now just sending over to this? I'm just trying to understand who it is and what the process is.
I
So
think
it's going directly from coastal to
Coastal
the
to-
third party?
it's, I can't remember, FFR, that's the name,
That's the
the
collection
acronym
agency.
for the company, financial something or other. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
That's my understanding. What coastal gives up on, then they turn over to the collection agency.
Okay, so then we're getting information from both coastal and, before we abate, then we'll be getting information from coastal and FFR.
Yes.
Because there may be things that FFR gives up on as well.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that column should be collection/public abatement. Because if we're going to give anything up, then it needs to be supported with documentation, an application, that kind of stuff. I don't have a need for the whole report. I'm going to pass this back to Paul so it can be shred.
Okay.
Okay, we have a vote on the motion to table until these other
Motion,
things
you
get
seconded?
resolved.
So I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made, second, to table this until next
them
meeting.
Next meeting?
Aye.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
All right. What else? do we have?
In the information item, there was this proposed UN Day proclamation.
Oh, yeah, I've got,
I would think,
we have a,
Well, if we're going down through the package, there's resignation.
well,
Right.
look, here's, I would move that the Board of Selectmen adopt the 24 October 2012 United Nations Day proclamation as
Motion made,
as
second.
drafted.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
and we already have a letter for Jan to sign in that regard.
great.
I'll move that the chair can sign on our behalf.
Okay, now we have a resignation. If I can find it.
I move that we accept the resignation of Gregory Church from the Planning Board. Date of resignation, September 5th, 2012. And his current term expires in 2013. It's for a 5-year. So I move that we accept his
Second.
resignation with regret, and a letter be sent to him thanking him for his years of service.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And you'll get that letter out to him? Paul?
Yep.
Okay, and we're putting up a notice of this vacancy somewhere.
We also have a, one or two. We have a individual for Open Space Committee.
Motion to approve appointment of Mr. Craig A. Neal to the Open Space Committee for a term of 3 years.
Craig Neal,
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made, seconded, all in favor?
All right. We also have a
All you'll have to get a hold of him.
application. Did you get this one, Jan?
I got this one
application.
here, yep, that's next.
Okay. I guess they're just
All right, this, let's see.
offering their services.
He's offering his services. Sean, is it Robinson?
Robinson.
Robinson?
Robinson.
I don't have my glasses.
Sean Robinson.
Okay, and I guess he's interested in any committee that has to deal with the school, elder services, housing, or parks. So do we have any openings in any one of those that?
I think we have housing, we have, I think we have a couple of openings over at the Housing Authority, and we have, I don't know if we have a full board on the Council on Aging or not. Did you check into that, Paul?
I would suggest that Paul or Key get back to this individual and just flag for him, here are the current openings.
Let them know what's available
Let
and
him
see
know
what
what's
he wants. Yeah,
available, and let,
I agree with that.
here's
Yep.
one that's particularly attractive, we can move on to the appointment.
And there should be a file probably kept in your office, Paul, of available people that are looking to go on different boards, so we can go back to that if openings
Yeah.
are.
Well, I can talk to
available.
Louise about the vacancies. She's
Yeah.
got a handle on that.
Okay.
And I received another letter from Donna Paddock, Elm Street. She's interested in the position over at, all right.
Here.
No, I got them here somewhere. Or I think I do. Maybe I think I can read it. Here they
I'll
are.
hold it over here.
Here they are. All right. All right, she's interested in working at Capewalk as a, the position that is state appointed. I want to tell Donna that we have no authority to appoint, that is an appointed position. However, I would suggest that three of us send Mr. Colcott and Mr. Rosenberg a letter saying that we have an individual that's come forward for that position, and we'd also get a hold of Mr. Mendick and his body to also let them know.
Yeah, I believe the way we did it for the redevelopment authority is the redevelopment authority recommended to the Board of Selectmen, and then we sent off the letter of agreeing
I mean,
and
I'm,
stuff like that, yeah.
right.
So they probably don't even know this is happening.
Yes, because it was CC to Mike Mendick.
Did they get a
too,
copy of
so,
it?
yep.
Okay.
But I will get a hold of Mike Mendick and let him know,
Okay.
so if he
Okay.
wants to have his board sign.
Or
we'll
John
sign.
Rokes or,
we'll sign
Buster or
along with
somebody,
him.
let them know this is going on.
Great.
All right. All right, is there anything else?
And we are firing all these ABCC advisories out to the licensees.
Yeah.
Did you see this new
Honestly.
caterer's license that was?
No, this is a new license. No one has even applied for it.
Well, you're right. It's a new category license.
There's a new caterer's license that is coming out, especially for caterers. It's off-site, can't be used on their site. It's got to be where, like if they go out and they do a party, then they have to apply for this license. But the fee is $1,500 a year. Okay?
Makes you want to be a caterer.
Yeah. So, and then there's also on top of that, I believe, $150 to the ABCC. The $1,500 goes to the town of Hatfield, and the other fee goes directly to the ABCC. But that's if somebody wants a caterer's license for alcoholic beverages.
What if they're just catering without alcohol?
You don't need a license to do that,
Right.
as long as you're not serving.
Other unanticipated, other business let's set the time for our next meeting, 2 October.
Yes.
Key had sent out a note that there's a request for a license, for an entertainment license. She needs to publish,
Entertainment license.
needs to publish something in the paper as to time and date and notify the abutters. So, do you want to, I'm at the municipal law conference that day during the day.
Yeah. I don't have a problem doing it around 6:30 at the earliest, you know, something like that. Well, even 6 o'clock would work for me. I'm not sure what time you're going to be done with the conference, Jeff.
I'll be done by then,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I don't know how
Is
do you
that
go
okay with you,
for
Jen?
For when? When is this?
2 October,
October 2nd.
All right, yeah, I would say 6 o'clock at night.
6 o'clock? All right, it's fine with me. So 6 o'clock for,
6 o'clock, that's great.
anything else?
Yeah, we have to go into
Yeah,
executive
move
session.
to, will the Board of Selectmen go into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. And the chair declares an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the Board of Selectmen, and we not return to open session.
A second.
Motion's made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Lesko, aye.
Boyle,
Adamski, aye. And we will not be returning to open session.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.